So, John, you are a veteran yourself.
Yes.
A Vietnam War veteran.
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. How long have you been volunteering with this program?
It's been I was going to say about a year, because just as Judy was mentioning, I started out as a volunteer with some other services they provide, but then I had heard about the inauguration of the Veterans Program, specifically the pinning program. It's a program where a veteran, a volunteer with hospice, visits a patient who's a veteran, and depending on the circumstances of the visit, most people are alert and aware of what's going on. We at some point symbolically present them with a veteran's pin. We present them with a star from the old American flags, which have to be destroyed because they're old, and we present them a star, and we present them a certificate from hospice, all in recognition of their service and what they have gone through during their time in the military, whether it was back in World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and of course today with Iraq and Afghanistan veterans. Most of the people I have visited with are World War II veterans, Korean War veterans. It was a war. I'm sorry, they may call it a conflict, but it was a war. But most of these men and some women who are survivors of that period of time went through a lot. And
do you find that when they're at the end of life, you kind of alluded to it, Judy, that they sort of have a tendency to go back there again? And more so than maybe they have when they were younger?
Well, it's neat. When you first enter their room or their home, I've been to the rooms in the care center, to their homes, and at assisted living facilities and so on. Whenever you enter the room, I usually go with some clothing on, which represents the fact that I'm a veteran, and introduce myself and recognize them and their name and the service they were in. It's sort of establishing a little rapport right away. Gee, you were in the Navy. Where did you serve? I served in the Navy. Or you were in the Army. You know, where'd you go to basic training at? What unit were you in? Where you were deployed overseas? The same, regardless whether they're Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, doesn't make any difference.
You establish that connection.
A veteran is a veteran.
Right.
And once you start talking in language that they associate with people who are veterans of military service, there's a connection right there. There is this feeling that you generate with them, and they recognize it right away that, gee, you've been where I've been, so let's talk.
So do you go multiple times and visit these folks?
Well, this like we've already said, this is a team thing. I get my assignments through the social worker, and then I get called and say, hey, we have a patient that wants a pinning service, or family would like a pinning service. Because what we do is just as important to the family members as it is to the patient, more so sometimes than the patient themselves. And so as a result of the social worker, like Judy, finding out that this was a veteran and would appreciate a visit from a veteran, then they'll call me, the volunteer coordinator will call me and say, would you mind going visiting a patient wherever, at home, in the care center, and so on. And so yeah, I suit up and I go wherever they ask me to go. And
nice time. I wish we had this when my father-in-law was in his final days. It would have been very meaningful for him, and like you say, it's so meaningful for the family.
Well,
and a lot of times they may hear some things that they've never heard before.
I'm going to tell you something. It's very meaningful for the volunteer. I wish many times over the years that there was an organization, whether it was hospice or anything, that would recognize the veterans for what they had gone through and what they've been through. But when these patients are near the end of their life, and years ago they were in the military, they never forget that period of time in their life. They went through things.
They put it away somewhere, though. They compartmentalize it.
And when I go in and we get a little comfortable and we find out what your rank was, were you a private, were you a lieutenant, then you associate with them and you tell them what your rank was and what you did, and all of a sudden they open up. And gee, where did you serve? And you start getting a little these. Sometimes we can go to war stories, which they're glad to talk about. Some don't want to talk about war stories, so you stay away from that. I have been on visits where I just visit with the patient themselves. Sometimes they're in a condition where they don't seem cognizant of what's going on, but I'm going to tell you they do. They hear you. And sometimes they'll murmur, or they'll indicate by some indication that they know what you're talking about. Some who are alert and can talk with you and speak with you and listen to and understand what's going on. It's a very rewarding experience. Some I've gone to visit where there was no response at all. And I have found, though, that if you touch them or grab their hand, they can hear you. And there's a rapport there. But more importantly than that, or I say equally important, is the impact it has on the family. I've been walked into rooms, you know, with military shirts on and my hat on, and all of a sudden, what's going on here? And then I talk with the patient and introduce myself and why I'm there. And boy, the impression it makes on the family, they appreciate it so much. And then when we get them talking, the patient about their experiences, and we go sometimes where no one has ever gone before. It's amazing. The family will say, "We've never heard that before." I said, "Well, he's never wanted to talk to anybody about it because they wouldn't understand."
Right. He just didn't feel the connection
That's right.
that he felt
with
with
another
you and
veteran,
the comfort.
they know that they've understood.
That's an
It's
amazing
like a legacy that
testimony.
you're leaving that
right.
family. You
And
know,
if you have grandkids standing in the room,
Oh,
that they
yeah.
had no idea maybe that
Exactly.
their grandfather or grandmother, you know, even
Exactly.
was in the military, and then they hear some of these
Exactly.
stories. Yeah.
So for me, it's been a very, very rewarding
Well,
experience.
how can people get involved? If someone's watching this who really feels passionate about this and feels motivated, like you did, you know, and they're a veteran and they'd like to be involved, how can they do that?
You can visit either the hospice office over here in Brooksville or out at Claire's office out there. They have a person out there who's a coordinator for the volunteers.
Okay.
And she will get you started you need to go through some training and get certified as a volunteer. And once you've completed those little hurdles, they'll put you to work.
In fact, we have a volunteer orientation coming up in May. Don't know the dates off the top of my head, but if someone wants to call our office, I'll be happy to get them that information. But as John said, you're required to go to 2 days of training. I mean, they do a background check, you fill out an application, they fingerprint you. It's you know, they take this very seriously.
This might be just the niche for somebody who's looking to get involved in
Absolutely.
something and looking for something to do, because it's very rewarding. As you said, the volunteers get a lot out of it, right?
That is so true. I've even recruited friends of mine who were retired. You know, I know very well, retired from the Navy. I says, "Hey, you know, you ought to think about this program. Come on with me," and I would bring them over to a hospice center and to a training session or an indoctrination. And they said, "I'd like to do this."
That's great. Judy, it sounded like you wanted to say
I
something.
did. Everything that hospice does and all the services we provide help everyone in the community, the patients and the families immensely. But we honor veterans. Kind of can hit close to home once I started having a hands-on and an opportunity to talk to my veteran patients and recognize them. And what you said is very true. It's rewarding. It's reciprocal to me. Even though the program's called We Honor Veterans, I feel honored every time that I have an opportunity to thank one of my veteran patients for the service that he's provided and the everyday freedoms that have been given to me because of that.
It's, you know, when you stop and think about it, it's awe-inspiring, and it's kind of overwhelming to think what they've been through, and that we are all the beneficiaries of what they've experienced.
And Judy, you know, one of the key words that she said is awareness. When HPH decided to partner with the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization and the Veterans Administration to deliver this program, it, like Judy said, it did bring awareness to the whole staff, and so then the staff goes out and then brings awareness to the community, because the program wants to bring awareness to the nation. the
Of our
specific
veterans.
needs of our veterans, depending on what war they may have fought in, not only the physical, but the psychological and emotional impact of that as well. So we can't talk enough about it. I mean, I think we're all on the same page when it comes to
Oh, you
being
bet.
grateful for what our veterans have done for us.
And a lot of these veterans maybe have not been honored at all, maybe during their
Absolutely.
lives, since
And
they've been out of
John
yeah,
could talk for another hour about that.
Oh, exactly. It's amazing how it's just a little metal pin, okay, and it's a piece of paper with a certificate and a little star, and they may be insignificant little symbols to someone who can't appreciate what it means. But let me tell you, when you break out that pin and you tell a veteran, I know you've been pinned before when you were in the service, well, you got to get pinned one more time. Oh, the tears will well up in their eyes, and they'll straighten up, and they'll stand up, and they'll...
They salute too, don't they?
Oh,
John?
yeah,
They
they'll
salute.
present themselves to have this pin put on, and I usually make an effort before I leave the room to,
salute them.
and they love it.
Wow, and their families there too
Oh,
take part in it too, and it's very
So
special moment.
I think it's a wonderful, wonderful program.
Well, is there anything else you want to add before? We have a wonderful video that we'd like to share with our viewers that shows actually volunteers going into the facilities or their homes and the pinning ceremonies and the reactions that they have, and it's a very
great
heartwarming
video.
Yeah, it was
video.
Great
produced
video.
by HPH Hospice, and again, we're trying to get this video out to different groups that impact veterans. So again, if it's something you would like to present to your organization, please contact myself or Judy or John, any one of us, and we'll be happy to make sure that you get a copy of it.
And you have people that will go out and talk to groups about
Absolutely,
this program and
yes.
all of the programs that Hospice has. which,
Absolutely.
your website is very good as far as listing all of the events that you have coming up. You have caregiver support groups, all different types, Alzheimer patient support
bereavement
groups,
support.
bereavement support.
In fact,
Children's programs.
Children's programs. June 5th at our team office on 50, Matt Peters, who's our Veteran Service Officer for Hernando County, is going to be doing a program that's support for caregivers to veterans. So it's going to be a 1 hour, free to the community, you need to RSVP to me. But again, talking about aid and attendance to the caregivers and what is available through hospice, et cetera. So again, we have many services that are available to our community.
Okay, and give the phone number, Carla, for those who might be interested in calling.
352-597-1882. And that'll get you to our switchboard, and you can ask for Carla Hayes, Judy Strevler, and then Orianne Clark. She's head of our volunteers. And again, we have our volunteer orientation in May, and I'll be happy to hook anyone up with Ann that's interested in doing what John does.
Okay.
We're always looking for volunteers.
Did you want to add one last thing, John? Before
No,
Okay.
I'm fine. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this
Yeah.
program because
Well,
I can't talk about it enough.
We're happy to talk about it, and I've just learned about it, and I'm really glad I did because it's great to know that we have a program like this in the community. It's something that's very rewarding, as you said, for everyone involved in it, and it's great for our veterans to go through that experience with their families.
We thought May was a good month as
Yeah.
it's Memorial
Day,
Memorial
yeah.
Day, and again, we're very appreciative to the freedoms that our
Yes.
veterans have given to us.
And I
So-
have to ask you, the emblem on your shirt, is that the ship that you were on?
This ship, that was one of a few ships that I've been on.
Okay.
That happens to be a destroyer. I spent 40 months on that off Vietnam
Okay,
operating.
and you're a 25-year veteran.
Yes, ma'am.
Navy veteran.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you very much for what you've done for us and
I'm
our
glad
country.
I could do it.
And thank you all for being here to talk about this wonderful program.
Thank you, Brenda.
And if you're interested in more information, well, first of all, enjoy the video that we're going to show you here. It's about a 10-minute video that actually shows some scenes of some of these pinning presentations. Very awe-inspiring and touching. So enjoy that. And if you need any more information about HPH Hospice or the We Honor Veterans program, you can contact Hospice at, again, Carla?
352-597-1882.
Okay. Or you can call us here at Broadcasting and we'll hook you up with Carla. And our number is 540-6777. Thank you for watching Focus on Hernando, and we'll see you again next time.